squad is out of the penalty box. The boys are back. Soccer Live is live for the first time in, I guess, 2 weeks it's been. David Goss and Tommy Scoops with you here for what is going to be an eventful show. We've got a couple of big pieces of news to hit on. We've got stuff going on around the USMNT. Of course, Tommy Scoops, your source for all of it. If you don't already, subscribe to our Patreon to get you access to our Discord, which gets you the ice cream shop feed, so you don't even have to be on social media. If you don't want to see all of your friends living their best lives better than you and being like, yeah, cool, whatever. I'm not really into that. And you can talk to all the other fans and talk to everyone else. We had a TST chat in there. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Tom, it's been a little while. You're coming in hot, coughing off the hot coffee just to get me really settled and ready to roll, and I missed you.
I missed you too, Goss. It's nice. I think we've had very long phone calls over the last 2 days, just tailgating for this episode to be back. I feel better. My let's see. I went since our last show. I had a Saturday night wedding. Let's just say it was all vegan on a farm. It's tough. I had a double cheeseburger on the way there.
Wait, you ate the double cheeseburger.
Then went to a wedding.
Technically, this isn't offensive. And then you took the selfie with the pigs.
I did. Well, like I didn't deduce those. Those were, dude. The pigs were like dogs. The guy was like, yeah, just pet it on its belly, it'll roll over. I was like, I don't think I'm gonna do that. And then he's like, try it. Then I held a chicken. If anybody wants to pay money for these photos, I'm just kidding. I'll put them in the Discord. Actually, I think that'd be fun.
Have you seen the Andy Samberg Mark Wahlberg skit?
Yo, oh my God! Of course. Are you kidding me? How dare you even ask?
Hey, Goat. What's up, Goat? What's your deal?
Say hi to your mother. Say hi to your mother. So that was Saturday, and that was 2.5 hours away. Sunday, I drive back and then drive to go to JFK to fly to Argentina. It's incredible. Sleep on a plane that day.
God's country, a.k.a. New York, not New Jersey.
Only direct flight. So then, obviously, I'm in the land of incredible red meat in Argentina, so I had a ton of that. Leave Argentina on another overnight flight, land Friday morning, drive into the Poconos for my freshman year roommate's bachelor party, and guess what dudes from PA do at an Airbnb in the Poconos? We grill, brother. So I think yesterday I took a few stints in the sauna, went to the elliptical, sweat some stuff out. I feel good, Goss. How do you feel?
I don't feel as good as you. I was telling you before the show, my wife's been working a lot recently, and I was away all of last week. So I was in St. Louis, where I got some great Vietnamese food. I love the Vietnamese food in St. Louis. I haven't been in 15 years.
That sounds like a Mad Lib.
It does sound like a Mad Lib, but it's not. People who know. I was going to try and get some Bosnian food, but everything was closed when I was there. But I was in St. Louis doing a recording for what is going to be one of the official U.S. Soccer podcast episodes, which was just announced yesterday that I will be one of the co-hosts of.
Did you know the announcement was coming?
Yes, of course. And I was super excited about it. I will be hosting it alongside Ali Bedoya and Megan Klingenberg. That episode we recorded in St. Louis, it's like one of those moments, and I think we're both lucky enough. We'll talk about what you did in a little bit of like, you're sitting in a space and you're like, reminding yourself, I'm here and I'm getting to experience this, to listen to people who have achieved at the highest levels, like break down their thought process, and like listening to former captains of the national team talk about imposter syndrome. And you're like, how is that a thing? Because if you want imposter syndrome, the Webster Dictionary is sitting here right now and experiencing it right now. But it was epic. I'm really excited. I've never worked with Kling before, and she's really excited to sort of come out of playing and be a part of this. And Ali Bedoya is one of my favorites. And
incredible.
Has been for a while. So I'm excited to dig into it and sort of get to know the personalities around the game, or around the national team with these as we go into the next year or two plus, which I've been working on a special project to launch that. And it's like really solidified where we've come from 90 and 91 and 92 and where we are now. And it's like, okay, this is really, really special. So that I'm really excited about. And then I went to North Carolina and was at TST, which is always a blast and always really fun. In doing so, my wife ordered delivery every day because I'm the one who cooks. And I came back, she didn't eat any of her food. And I told you this. I created a system, which is, it's not unhealthy if it's not a meal. And if you don't heat it up, it doesn't count as a meal. So you can eat all the leftovers you want, and it doesn't matter.
My wife does this a lot too, where she'll just like kind of pick at something but not heat it up and be like, yeah, it's like, no, this isn't a meal or whatever, right? So I think that's funny. I love the ingenuity, Goss, of the man who brought you the Goss theorem. He's just always thinking. He's on the cutting edge.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask for your TST stories next, but I do want to say, one, this podcast that you're doing for US Soccer is going to be incredible. I cannot possibly be more excited to listen to it. I do have one follow-up question, though.
Yeah.
You said it was a dream job, and I'm just sitting here like, damn, man. Thought we had something. Just hurts. I don't know.
Yeah, that was a tough one for me. I don't really have a way around it. What I would say is this was the job I dreamed of when I was younger, because little could I know.
Because you didn't know me.
I know that I was going to be streaming live on YouTube one day with Tommy Scoops himself. I think back then, if you had asked me, I probably would have, my dream would have been to be on FSC with Max Bretos calling Argentine League games on Sundays. Buenanote, Higuain, Gago, and all those other legends, Mascherano. That probably was my dream at the time, alongside hosting a show for US Soccer. So it's a fair shout. Remember, I'm not the writer. You are. If I had spoken it, it would have come out more coherently, but I'm not the writer.
Wow, I can't believe this feels weird. I thought I was gonna get a shot back of like, oh, dude, like, what about that morning footy video you put up where you were laughing harder? I thought that was gonna be something like that.
The key to my game, Victor Wembanyama style, going full Shaolin, is
I was gonna say,
I got to keep you off your game. Yeah, that's the key. I got to keep you off your game. I can't come in too quickly. So speaking of dreams, you went down to Argentina.
Yeah.
I saw you at La Bombonera. I saw you at the Monumental, wearing a dope jacket. I'm glad you were in jacket weather. That was probably the part I was most jealous about.
Yeah.
And descending down into it. You were at the transfer room conference. Is that what it's called?
Summit, yeah.
Ooh, that's even more.
Getting the branding right.
Yeah. What was the experience like?
It was great, man. First of all, Buenos Aires, it's a beautiful country, great people, great city. So many. Did I say Buenos Aires? Argentina is a beautiful country. Buenos Aires is a beautiful city with great people. A lot of different neighborhoods. I got to explore the best I can. I was doing a lot of work, obviously. But can I say one thing? Mm-hmm. I didn't see a singular stop sign in that city. Not one singular stop sign.
Did you get hit by any cars?
No. Like, every driver was awesome. And, like, I never felt like I was gonna. It was like controlled chaos. And, like, I remember I was sitting in an Uber with a rep from another MLS club, and I was like, dude, have you noticed a stop sign? He goes, no, not one. So I thought that was cool, and just respect that. Just, let it grip it and rip it. The going around the city, like, dude, you cannot walk a block without seeing a Diego Maradona mural or something. It was really, really cool. His legacy lives on there. He is very clear. Like, there was some messy stuff, of course, but man, Diego is just another level to even Lionel Messi, right? Like, so that was really cool. Like, again, these are things that I already knew, but just to being immersed in it, being around the conference, the summit happening at Estadio Más Monumental, incredible. Like, I would just walk away from inside again, and this is with representatives from clubs of all over the world and agents and agencies that, like, and let me just walk away from that for a second. I'm gonna have my coffee. I need a minute. Let me just go walk down the stands and sit in the stands at Estadio Más Monumental, and just, it's just unreal. Like, that, those are some of the moments that were really cool. I got to sit in on one of the meetings, and part of me was like, not skeptical, but I was like, dude, you meet up with so many people. Some of it is, let's establish a relationship from one club to another club or an agency to a club. And, like, what actually gets discussed here? I sat in on one, and, like, it was like, hey, how you doing? And then boom, immediately, hey, what do you think about this player? Hey, what are you looking for? Hey, I'm going to keep tabs on this guy. So I was like, oh, wow, like, this is more than just like, what's up, man? Yeah, I'm the GM. This is how I got started. And cool, like, if you have a player that our scouting team likes, like, I'll call you. Like, it was, I don't know, it was really cool. And nonstop looking into cameras. I got to be with my guy, Cesar Merlo, who's incredible.
Is it the first time
meeting him in person? So we're friends, and we talk in English because he's the man, and my Spanish is muy mal.
Did you, like, touch rings and then there was, like, a glow?
He was funny. He was like, because I had started taking Spanish classes like 5 months ago, and then those classes ended, and then I bought a house, and then I haven't had free time to do anything. And he was
Tú
like,
aprendes español.
And he was like, do you remember when you told me you were learning Spanish? And I said, yeah. He goes, so is that a fucking joke? Huh?
Nice.
Just like completely messed. Like, dude, he's the man. He's awesome. And just watching him work is great. So that was incredible. I would like to go back to Argentina at some point. Hopefully some point. But it is a 10-hour flight, which I forgot about. It's very far away. So, Gus, how's Cary, North Carolina?
Well, wait, I'm not done yet.
All right.
La Bombonera Monumental. Put you
One of them hosted the conference, and
there
one
you
of
go,
them is the
fair.
answer.
Yeah, it's redone,
dude,
right? It's been like slightly redone.
Monumental, or
yeah.
Oh yeah. The last time I was there, again, as I've told the story, was when I figured out I was not going to be a professional soccer player because I got ran off the field by.
I watched Alex Ramos play soccer at TST, and Tad was the coach.
That's what that. But like, so last time I was River Plate, and we did the tour. And then that weekend was the game that they lost and got relegated. And they, like, the fans, like, trashed the state, like, ripping out chairs and just obviously, like, upset that they got relegated. So it's been redone since then for sure. And it's, like, around the stadium is super modern. And, like, around the stadium feels like a modern, like, American stadium where there's car dealerships and stuff. Yeah. Like, it's not like, it's in a good location, but, like, it's not a neighborhood. Like, La Bombonera is, like, tight streets, every shop. And, like, you're getting close to the stadium because a mile away, literally everything on the walls is blue and yellow.
Yeah.
Like, if they had stop signs, which again they don't, the stop signs would be blue and yellow, right? Like, it was everything. So I appreciated that.
Signs, which they don't.
I appreciated that a lot because that was really cool. But like, again, like I understand the modernness and stuff, but just like the soul around La Bombonera was incredible. But again, I wasn't in the bowels of that stadium like I was River Plate, which was really, really cool.
I would like to state for the record that the true La Bombonera is in Toluca, Mexico, and all the other ones are knockoffs, and real ones know, and non-real ones don't. So just putting that out there.
Are you telling me I'm not a real one? Was that?
No, not at all. That was not the point of that, but it's a really good way to take it. We look forward to SoccerWise's next live show in Buenos Aires. We are going to be across all of Argentina soon, so that's something to look forward to so we can get Tom back home to where he sits best. Do you know which type of steak, or is it just generic, like I'll eat anything that is
I was definitely gonna take whatever. I went with CL Marlell to, he was like, hey, my friend owns a steakhouse, I promise you're gonna love it. And so he was more or less like, let's just get a little bit of everything, family style type. And the biggest flex that they do, and they definitely, see tourists, obviously, very clearly I'm not from Argentina. So I think that they enjoy those moments of, the steak is so tender, they cut it with 2 spoons, which is one of the coolest things I've seen. Yeah. So that was good.
I was in Cary, North Carolina, which is often confused with Buenos Aires, which I think is something that people should understand before I get into this. But I was at TSC, which was super fun. I met a few people from the Discord. Cole, who was volunteering at the tournament, came over and said what up. And then someone named Paul, who came, I believe, from Cleveland or maybe Columbus, one of the two, and showed up on Friday, and it rained for like 7 hours sideways to the point where like the tent collapsed underwater because there was so much rain. And he and his friend showed up just to like hang out and watch TSD. And one of them was like, I don't mind the rain, so gave me his poncho, which was very, very nice. So I appreciate that.
That's incredible.
Yeah. It was a little too late. So I was already soaked from head to toe, through my shoe, through my pants on my right side, but my left side stayed moderately dry. And TSC is just fun. Like Thursday, I think I called 9 games from 8 a.m. through 11:30 p.m. with breaks in between. And I stand on the field when I call the games. And so you're not just like, oh, you get to watch Nani and like all that stuff. You just like get to watch soccer. It's just really fun. And I stress this a lot because maybe I don't go to as many games as other people do because we're covering stuff and whatever, and everyone else season tickets. And also like the feel of being so close to it. It's just high level stuff. It's really, really fun. There's like the crazy quirkiness. So like Nani went out and recruited this kid, Brendan Lamb, who came out of Atlanta United's academy, who I'd covered in the MLS Next ranks. Then he's at UVA now. And he's played really well in this tournament the last 2 years. So, like, clearly someone in Nani's camp reached out and was like, hey, do you want to play for our team? And you're like, this is wild. Or there was, like, a team from Philly, which was all, like, recent college grads, Lehigh, Penn State, LaSalle, Duquesne, all of that. A lot of them play on Westchester United. As a New Yorker, it's hard for me to say that, which is where AJ Marcucci's from. And I think it's where Matt Freese is from. But I'm not 100% sure. It's like a youth club that leads up into...
He's from Harvard, lad.
Yeah, obviously. The big dog, USMNT now, which we will talk
Matt Freeze.
Yeah, which we'll talk about coming up soon. But I think that's where they all it's a youth club that leads into, I don't know whether it's just men's league, UPSL, NPSL, whatever it is. And they're on the field with these guys. And you're talking about Bruno Alves, and everyone kept putting a hand on him when he'd come across the field, and immediately he'd slap it away. And the ref came over to talk to him, and he walked away from the ref there's zero chance Bruno Alves is listening to this conversation right now. He's got no time for this. But it's really cool, and I think one of the things I love about soccer is how different it is. And so with the 7v7 format, we've seen the success of arena soccer players, indoor players, people who play in these cash tournaments. I chatted with Chris Duval for a while.
Hell yeah.
He played with the Red Bulls before he broke his leg, and then never ended up having the career he should have had, which is really unfortunate. Landed in St. Louis and plays with one of these elite men's league teams that plays in some cash tournaments like TST, and just talking through the experience of playing for fun, but also being super competitive and good. It reminds me, and we've talked about this before, of there's so many good soccer players in the world, not just professional. You go to a field and you're man, that person can bring a ball down. And man, that person can, do a step over or beat people 1v1. There's just the way the sport is built. And then this tournament, the equalizer is it's not that long and it's small. So a lot of different styles can fit on the field and survive and stay in the game. And so Nani can be on a field with a bunch of recent college grads who aren't going pro, and they can still kind of hang, not win all the time, but kind of hang. So it's just a really, really fun event. The women's side is growing, which is really, really cool. And that group stage started later. So Friday I got to go and watch as a fan for a couple hours, watch the U.S. women's team, which ended up winning it. So congrats to them. Our social admin, Morgan Tenza, was crushing it on photos.
Dude, hold on. Did you see they got the video of the team that scored and ran up and celebrated with McAfee?
Yeah.
That video of Morgan
just
leaving those dudes in her dust with her camera on and getting the shots the whole time. I wasn't, when I was watching that video, I wasn't assuming that Morgan was going to be in it. And then she just came. I was like, oh my God, wheels. Oh, that's Morgan. Let's go.
Yeah, Morgan was flying, crushed it the whole time. I think ended up being the photog for U.S. women's team the whole run, because she did such good work. And we have a lot of friends of the show there. So Casey White, who's been on this show, was coaching. Lori Lindsay, who's been on this show, was coaching. Jill Lloyden, who's been on this show, was playing in goal. And it was really funny. She was warming up for the game that I was watching. And it's you're talking about people at the highest level, and they're kind of back in it, but not fully. So she was they're doing shooting drills, and she's talking to me, and they're you're back in. Spins around, makes 2 saves, screams, having so much fun, and then walks back off. And you're this is so cool.
Oh, that's electric.
And I wish I was this good at anything. Someone asked what my favorite moment was. It's hard to say. I don't know that I have one that stands out. I will say the most fun game I think I did was this team dueling for Lincoln, which is started as a nonprofit in St. Louis and is this St. Louis super, men's league team. And they came and they beat this group. Two of the games I did, but one of the games I did, they beat this team from Switzerland. That was I think it's a youth academy and everyone was futsal national team players for Switzerland, Portugal, Germany. And it's all these people who are yeah, I played college 7 years ago, but I still love it. And they were they're the quirky team. They do a bunch of set piece plays. They've got a huge center back who they'll use sometimes, but then mini guys. And then Robbie Christo's their center forward. I don't know if that's a name that rings a bell for you. He's SLU legend, Mac Herman finalist back in the day. He was supposed to be Ibisevic. He was the other Bosnian elite center forward coming out of St. Louis. And he was always injured, and it never worked out. And so he's just if you play to him, it's gold. But you got to get it to him. And they're just one of those teams that manages the whole thing. And it was once the lights go down, it's amazing. So yeah, there's a team from Switzerland of Albanian, mainly Swiss people that I'm obsessed with. And when they lost, I was heartbroken. I'd already left. And I was telling everyone, I was FC Roja Eagles, that's the squad. And then they lost, and I was God damn it. So overall, it's just really fun. The target score stuff is fun. Having walk-off stuff, having the pressure. There's a game I watched between, I think it was La Bombonera who won it last year, and this team of 7v7 players that was mixed from Brazil and Mexico. And it went down to 2v2. Corey Rockwell was refereeing it. It was the last game of the night. It was chaos. ends in a fight. I got the phone out. I'm like, I got video of this. Whatever goes on, everyone's like arguing. You don't know what language it's in. Fans are screaming, like all of this stuff. So it was really, really fun. So shout out to Paul. Thank you for the poncho, by the way. Thank your friend as well. Shout out to Cole. Shout out to everyone else. Andy came by and said hi. Everyone else who came by to say hi. It's like always the best thing because we do this. There's some people in the chat and whatever, but it's like, we're talking to a computer, so it's really cool to meet people in person. Same. And I wish that I had been at Rentschler Field on Saturday, except for the rain, because I think it's one of the best soccer atmospheres in the country. It is one of the best football stadiums that you can play soccer in. For some reason, the sightlines are really good, and there's always like a really good crowd. There's a really cool story out of this, which is Patrick Aujamang's family like walked to the game because they live so close, and he's starting for USMNT. But before we get into the game, we got to do what Tommy does best, which is we got to get to the scoops. And you broke the news yesterday to open up this little transfer window time period, which is that Matt Turner maybe will find a starting spot.
Yep, Matt Turner is going to Lyon. The deal's all great. It's being finalized for €8 million fee from Nottingham Forest. I'm glad for him that this ended quickly because last year, around this time, there were multiple offers from clubs where he was going to be the starter. And Nottingham Forest was not prepared to sanction a loan, and the only offers that were coming in was a loan. So I was a little bit worried about, hey, would that happen again this year, or would he be left, when the music stops, no chairs are left in terms of starting jobs? That's why he went to Crystal Palace. And Palace wanted to keep him. But Turner obviously wants to go somewhere where he has the chance to get consistent minutes. And my understanding is that is what this Lyon move is. So they do have a starting goalkeeper named Lucas Perry, but he's been linked with Roma. They've already submitted a bid. Newcastle really, really like him. So the understanding is Matt Turner is going to be the number one if assuming this guy leaves. Look, there's no guarantees in football. You can plan the best you can. Maybe a deal falls through. Like, God forbid, I'm not even... Deals fall apart even when they're agreed, right? Yeah. So I'm talking about for Lucas Perry. And again, I'm not suggesting that's going to happen. But the planning is Matt Turner is going to be the starter at Lyon, as far as I understand, and as far as he is concerned.
It would be great news. At this point, I have zero doubt that if Matt Turner plays games, he's good enough to be a starting goalkeeper for a good team at the international level. That's club and then playing for your national team. And it feels like every time he comes into camp and plays, it's like he's working his way back to being Matt Turner. And that's just a regressive way to go about this. I think it goes into a larger issue with the whole pool, and we'll talk about it as the show goes along, but it would be really, really promising if he found, and Lyon's a good level. Great level. Tessman's playing there already. Obviously, some level of American ownership on now both the men's and women's side, and so dabbling in this like pool of players. But I think Matt Turner's proven that he's good enough to play at that level, and this is a problem with goalkeepers. This was the problem with the original move, and you get it, of like, take the big money, take the big opportunity, see what happens. That like second move down has to be the right move to find your position. It's Tim Howard to Man U and then settles in at Everton. Zach Steffen never found that second move, right? Luis Robles went over to Europe, never found it, ended up being the Red Bulls. Like, you have to, not you probably personally, this probably falls more on your agent of like planning for that second situation and finding the right one. And Matt Turner now has like wasted a year plus where he hasn't been able to get better.
I don't think that's fair to say it that way, because I thought Nottingham Forest was absolutely the right move. And again, hindsight's 50-50, or 2020 50-50. Hindsight's 2020. The issue with
Nottingham Forest was it was less goalkeeper and more just chaos of club.
Oh, yeah. So that's where, like, hindsight's 2020. And yeah, you could say that there was the worries of the instability and the chaos that was at that club. And like, right now, it again, they still have chaos at the club because they're Nottingham Forest. But like right now, it looks like, well, they finished 6th in the Premier League. Like, what was wrong, Yeah. But Turner, at every turn, they bought another goalkeeper. Yeah. And then he eventually lost his spot. And like, again, let's start. He wasn't good enough at Nottingham Forest. Right. And I think he recognizes that too. But like, I don't think that was the wrong move. It was the right process, wrong result. And then it's not his fault that Nottingham last year said, we will not take a loan offer until 3 days left in the transfer window, when they said, you know what? Actually, yeah, you can go find a loan deal. Right. Like, if it's the right numbers, we'll sanction it. And then it's like, well, everybody has their starting goalkeeper already. So do I want to be third string at Nottingham or second string at Crystal Palace? Let's do Crystal Palace. And oh, by the way, he won a trophy. He started 3 of those FA Cup games in their run to win. Like, yeah, of course, he needed to be somewhere where he was starting. But like, in a vacuum, yeah. But given where things were and the difficulties that getting out of Nottingham Forest when it's not going well, that again, that's not unique to Matt Turner. This is what's happened to other other players, right? Like, so I just because it didn't work out, it's like in football when somebody goes for it on fourth down, it's like you say it's the right play call if they succeed, or you say it's the wrong play call if they fail. Like, I think the Nottingham Forest move is one I would have absolutely made if I was him, and it didn't work out. And partly it's on him, but hey, partly that happens sometimes. So going to Lyon, if he's starting, I think that's great. The way that they've handled Tanner Tessman, both in like, these are our promises, this is what we see for you, and then fulfilling that and watching him grow. Again, these are two different players, two different stages of their career, and most importantly, two different positions. You can't tell a goalkeeper, we're going to bring you off the bench for a little bit until you get your feet under you and then you play. But again, given the recent track record of Lyon with American players is the only kind of primary example I'm going to have from people in the knowledge. Like, they've done right by Tanner Tessman. And Tanner Tessman has done right by himself. And so for Matt Turner, you bet on yourself. And like, I really like this move.
And I would say he also fits the profile of like literally former Arsenal players who didn't break through, who now start at Lyon. But that's where they sit.
Or former Arsenal goalkeepers that have gone elsewhere. They all do well.
that's where they sit in the hierarchy. So that's where they're trying to pick players off. But because of that, they don't have a ton of extra money to grow depth, and goalkeeper's not a position where you're probably going to overspend because you can't use more than one. And they're going to compete for European spots. So there's games to be played. There's cup games, there's European competition games, plus the league. And I would say Matt Turner in no way is too late. If he can be the starter this year and establish himself and play every week, he will be fine going into the World Cup, because he has been pretty impressive even when he's like not a locked-in number one, because he's a really talented shot stopper and a really talented goalkeeper. That is the big news that has come out, the real official one. But now that European seasons are over, we have the combo of American players and Canadian players in Europe who are available, plus European teams are starting to look at MLS players in their transfer window. So there is like a lot of names floating around right now.
Yep. So let's kind of go on
down the
list.
Also, shout out to Aurora for sending me this, and my name's on it.
I was wondering why you kept trying to turn and then didn't commit to turning.
I didn't realize how far I'd have to go. I thought I wouldn't have to go that far.
To the chat who's watching this, I should have just played like, oh gosh, you did great there. I saw a G and everything was covered by the mic.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There it goes. This is good ASMR. You're a real athlete, bro. That was a lot of torque there.
You were on the phone with me yesterday where I went in and had to request something with my name, and I said gas, and you were like, have I been saying your name wrong for the whole time? And it's like, nah, it's just spelt like an idiot.
So, I've got a lot of latest news here on U.S. national team players that I'm expecting to leave this summer. Let's start with Jonny Cardoso. As myself and Ben Jacobs reported a couple weeks ago, Atletico Madrid are firmly leading this race. There's been some reports in Spain that say deal's done. I'm told it's still not done, but that doesn't deviate from anything I heard a few weeks ago, because I wasn't expecting anything to happen until like after the Gold Cup. And same thing with Turner. Like, that's not going to get announced anytime soon, just to get ahead of questions like in 2 weeks if it's not announced. So same thing with Jonny Cardoso. I'm still firmly expecting him to end up at Atletico Madrid, but that's not a done deal yet. I will say from what I've heard from Atletico Madrid sources, they're very confident as well. So that's one to watch. That deal be around 30 million euros. And I think that it's a good step for him to go to Atletico Madrid. And I know he struggled a little bit this weekend, and he hasn't played his best. If you've only watched Jonny Cardoso with the national team, you'd be like, why is Atletico Madrid buying him? But this is a really good player, still a young guy. Like, at some point, he's going to put his best form with the national team, and hopefully it happens over the next year. But just trust me on this one. Like, if you watch him at Betis, like, it's a really good player.
And I will always say, Diego Simeone is the best coach in the world, and there's never a negative to go there. Get your black suits tailored, get them lined up, and get locked in. But it's such a cool place to go for him, and I think the evolution of his game to be a physical ground coverage type guy with the skill and quality he has to be a passer. This is obviously tough to say coming off an outside the foot pass in his own box that went off of Arda Güler and in his own goal. And that's not saying like it was an unlucky bounce. It was an absurd moment from Jonny to try and take space, take a long touch. The whole thing was a lack of understanding of the speed of the play and what was going on. all of that should improve under Diego Simeone, but I do think it helps round out his game. And Atletico have progressed in many ways, and they have consistently tried to find players like this who they can sort of infuse their DNA into and take them to a higher level. And I think he has the potential to be one of those. It's also just like a cool place to go. They're in the Club World Cup for a reason. Like, they're one of the great clubs in the world, and this is like an awesome step for you to take, even though Betis were awesome this year on their own.
Yeah, exactly. But he was ready for the next step. I mean, he's been there for 18 months, and this was happening last summer. He had been there for half the season.
Tired of getting cooked by Cucho in training, too. Get out of here.
Yeah, and again, Tottenham had the prearranged, priority. We can sign him for 25 million. Wolverhampton really, really liked him. Juventus is a team. I heard AC Milan, but Atletico Madrid, and from what I heard from England, it was like that. Tottenham feel he wanted to stay in Spain, and Atletico Madrid in Spain. I think that's a really good move all in all. The next guy up, Josh Sargent. That's another guy that is going to move this summer. I was told that there's already been bids from England and Germany. He was in team of the season for the championship. I'm very curious to see where he lands next. He's been at Norwich for a few years. I think the stability was good with him. He's been very, very good, very productive when he's been healthy in the championship. And over the last 2 seasons, he's been one of the very best forwards in that league. And with Norwich not getting promoted, it's absolutely time for him to leave. Again, it's funny. This time last year, Cincinnati came really close. That was agreed on the player side. If Norwich were holding out for 25 million, if they said, 15 plus add-ons, he'd be playing for Cincinnati right now. So it's just funny how these sliding doors moments happen. And when I was asking, hey, should I expect an MLS club? And it was just nope, Premier League, Bundesliga, or somewhere else. That's how it's going to happen. Again, there's nothing that's there just yet. But again, keep an eye on Josh Sargent this summer.
He clearly has to do something to get himself in the team, which I think is really tough because he played so well this year. And
what else can he do?
We've just been asking him to be healthy. He finally is healthy, and he has performed exactly as I think a lot of us would anticipate he would have. I still think he is the most versatile center forward in the pool. As a finisher and a chance creator, someone who you can play off of, but also can finish and lead the line. And now that you're seeing him every week, you're seeing all of that. I think lucky for him, though, is he's been in England for a while. Obviously, the Premier League's a different level, but still, you have experience there, and he already was in Germany. So if that's where it ends up, I know there's some Italian connections as well. If that's where it ends up, at least he sort of has some familiarity and background with all of that.
Yeah.
I just would be shocked if he had a good year and at least isn't getting call-ins over the course of the fall and into winter. But I'm shocked that he's not a part of things right now, too.
I agree. Again, Pochettino has, just today he's forgotten more about soccer than I'll ever know. Right? It's easy to criticize it, but I don't understand.
Zach low line, well done.
I don't understand how you can say football reasons for a player that was in the championship team of the season. And again, the other forwards, Damian Downs is here on merit, Ajimang, White, they're all here on merit. But if we're just gonna go football reasons here, before the call up, Ajimang scored 2 goals for Charlotte, right? And Sargent was team of the season for the championship. So I don't know if it's clearly football reasons, and I'm just curious. I would be curious to see Pochettino expand on that, but whatever. That's neither here nor there. Like you said, Goss, I think if he makes the right move, plays well, he's absolutely still in the mix. Maybe this was part of hey, sending a message to some guys. And, Joe Scally isn't here either. I don't know. Again, whether Pochettino has his reasons, and again, it's tough to go against.
Oh, we will talk about not being here in a little bit coming up. We have a question from the chat about Diego Luna, because the assumption the chat is saying is the assumption is he won't be here, but they've not really heard anything connected to him.
I would say, what is that? Where is that assumption coming from? Is it just because
I do believe Pablo said in an interview over the last few months of after the summer window, I'd be surprised if Diego was still, or something, or just how good he's been. Maybe that's where it got connected to. And I think it's then the outside assumption of he's been so good, he's kind of the next one. Yeah,
and in general, right, all of these should be case-by-case basis, right? There are some guys where it was obvious that it was time to go. Diego Luna, I think that it is going to be his time, but dude, you're getting called in from MLS. You are the absolute star of Real Salt Lake. You continue to grow. You're under a great coach. And there's no guarantee that you're going to play this exact role and have this exact importance. Actually, let me take a step back. I don't think that you can replicate this level of importance, and the team being built around him might be a step too far. But I think you know my point here, that Pablo has, particularly with some of the departures, this is Diego Luna's team, man. You're not getting that if the teams that can afford you, you're not going to have the team built around you. So for me, it'd be a risk to go.
Interesting.
And again, I'm not saying that I just flat out say no to everything.
Yeah.
But it's not like one of those where, oh, I don't care, like he's got to go to Europe, right? Just make it happen.
Yeah. So I think the World Cup timing makes this weird. I don't hope this happens, and I don't think RSL's in a place that it has to. But this could be example in the future of a cash for a guy. Of like, is the next step for you to replace Cucho and play in a CCC and play in RSL? The way it is set up right now is not going to be contending either for the Shield or for MLS Cup.
I mean, the Red Bulls just made MLS Cup final after being the seventh.
You have to get, first of all, you have to get in the playoffs.
But
do
like,
that. And I think
this
that's
is a long season. You know that.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying I'm not 100% sure of this. But I do think there's a world as things go along of like, what Seattle did with Jesus. And that's a little different because it was like Jesus needed to move and there was other stuff. It's not just like he's playing great and needs to quote unquote move up. But it could be fun going forward. Jack McGlynn, obviously, a cash for himself. I believe is one of the people who's getting sort of little rumblings around.
Yeah, I could say for sure. Houston have gotten goals. There are no concrete offers, but I don't know. You name it: England, Germany, Italy, Spain, whatever. Right? Like he is long. Like he's already obviously long been on radars. I reported when he went to Houston, there was a bid from Serie B, and it was similar-ish money. But I honestly think everybody made the right decision for him to be in Houston because he's, again, another guy where he's in a possession-based system, and it makes a lot of sense for him, and he's gotten better as the season's gone on, typified by that goal that he scored. While he was awesome for Philly, that wasn't exactly his role. Like I remember Jim Curtin always saying, I've been telling Jack he needs to shoot more. He needs to shoot more. With Houston, it's on him. You don't have Daniel Gaza. Like they have really good attacking players, but Ben Olsen has said, oh, no. Like you need to add the final product. We need you higher up the field. Yeah, we love the long balls you can play. So again, I think that's another good situation. I'd be really surprised if Houston agreed to something right now. Again, the deal was like a little bit over $2 million, and Philadelphia have a 50% sell-on.
Right.
So bare minimum, you're starting at $4.5 million. And why would Houston do it if they're just making their money back? So the realistic fee that they probably need, and again, this is speculation rather than I'm hearing this directly from Houston. $8 million?
And the assumption for you, if you're Houston, is the value is going to go up over the next year if he's part of the national team, especially if he's in the World Cup. That will probably be the peak of it. You don't need to sell early because you're only getting 50%. So if someone comes to you now, if he scores against Switzerland, has a decent Gold Cup, and someone comes and they're like, oh, he's playing well, we want him. It's like, I think Houston would rather say, well, we think it'll grow. The other thing for Houston is everything else came together so late. They haven't put their team around him really. Like they've made so many late moves. They've had to panic because of moves out that, Coco happened late, then the replacement, the injuries they've had, all of that I don't even know that they shouldn't feel a lack of confidence that they can compete this year because I think the bones are there.
I agree. And what I would say too is that what this is where I'm saying with case by case basis. If he was in Philadelphia still, I would be like, time to go. Let's and go to Europe, right? But the fact that he just got to Houston and it's a different system and he's playing well. Again, I'm not saying that nothing is going to happen, particularly with I know that big clubs are watching and teams have called and everything. It's just one of those where he just moved 6 months ago. I don't know, right? But again, he's a guy who I think his physicality has continued to improve. That left foot could play anywhere in the world. Yeah. So I think that he would translate well depending on this team, the system, the league.
I don't think we're going to dive a ton into the Turkey game because it happened. Switzerland's coming up tonight whenever you're listening to this or yesterday. It is what? I don't know who's running tape at Turkey and who's doing analysis. The fact that he got in on his left foot twice in the opening 3 minutes, especially the second time, it's like, I don't know that the scouting report was there. And whatever, right? It's a friendly. These teams don't play each other a ton. It probably isn't really there. But anyone who's going to play the U.S., you want to give me a call, throw me a little consulting fee on the side. Yeah. Soccer-wise gives you the breakdown, spoilers. If it's inside of half field and Jack McGlynn has space, he will shoot on his left foot, and he's really freaking good at it.
Yeah. Take that away would be what I'd say. I'll rip through these a little bit faster. Yunus Musa, Fabrizio Romano reported that Napoli have entered talks. I think that's interesting. If that happens, I'm sure we'll have plenty of more time to talk about it. Gio Reyna, I still got nothing on this one. He's going to leave. Depends where. Hopefully he finds somewhere where he can play, be fit, be healthy, and we can see the best of him again.
I believe is in a promotional shoot for Borussia Dortmund for the Club World Cup because they have special jerseys for it. Don't know what that means at all.
Cool. Mateus Cunha was on the Wolverhampton calendar for June, and I believe his move to Manchester United went official on June 1st. So.
Hey, that's a collector's item right there. That's eBay. That's eBay gold.
So get your marketing brain off, David Goss. So a couple others here. Max Arfsten, as I broke the news last week, Toulouse made an offer that was quickly rejected by Columbus. It was very low. So we'll see if they come back in with another bid. We'll see who else comes. But Max Arfsten, that stuff is real. Westerlo duo, Brian Reynolds and Griffin Yao. I'm firmly expecting both of them to leave. For Griffin Yao, he's in the last year of his contract. Westerlo put a price tag that they probably won't get from what I heard. And as long as they're reasonable, and they should be, or he's going to leave for free in a year. But some championship clubs, some Belgian clubs, and elsewhere are trying to sign him. We'll see what happens. And Brian Reynolds, some German clubs and some others that we'll see exactly what happens. But again, those are two guys I'm absolutely expecting to leave. Ditto for Gianluca Busio. Venezia just got relegated. He stayed with them the last time they got relegated and helped bring them back up. I don't think he's going to do that again. I think he's going to go somewhere else this summer. That is the very strong likelihood from what I heard. And then Caleb Wiley, he's technically at Chelsea. The plan is for him to go get another loan and continue to get his minutes and develop. He played at Watford for the second half of last season. He was really good at Watford. The first half was at Strasbourg. He started off well, but then he got injured. So Caleb Wiley continuing his development. Elsewhere, Chelsea's still really happy with him, but he's not going to get minutes in the first team. So this was always part of the plan.
Reminder for DC fans, Dallas fans, there's sell on there or potential at a minimum. If they change federations, you get the solidarity payments because you're their academies.
Yes.
So there's a little bit of money in there for those clubs. I think with Griffin, that was like kind of the whole point.
Yeah, it's like a 33%, something in that range.
They basically punted we're going to develop and sell, which something TFC did as well with like Jay Nelson and guys like that. It's not a great sign all the time that these clubs are doing this, but it does mean that down the road there could be some money to come back on the other side. On the Turkey game as well, and in here, I thought Max Arfsten was phenomenal in the Turkey game. Mm-hmm. He is one of the few players consistently pushing the game. And that's, in possession, that's out of possession. It's where he decides to pick up his positioning. He is playing with the U.S. like he plays with Columbus. And there could be some problems in that because not everyone else is playing the same way. And he's coming inside and he's a 10 and all of that. But for the malaise that you see at times with this group, it is like really welcome to watch. It is awesome. I am glad to see him play the same way. Like to him carry that confidence over. I won't be shocked if he makes a move because I think he could play at any of these teams. But I think we've seen him develop this year into more consistent, more dangerous, a key part of the group in a way that he was not last year of like he was part of the success, but he was off to the side and it was built around other people. Mm-hmm. I think it would be cool to watch him do that for a little bit more and finish out this year. And you go into a playoff game, you do a scouting report against Columbus and you're like, what do you need to shut down to beat this team? He's what, top 3 right now?
Yeah, honestly, because of how well this team uses their wingbacks and like, yeah, for sure.
And like, I think Mo Farsi was a bigger part of the attack last year and 2 years ago. I think part of that was because Steven Marrero is so good. Arfsten has been unbelievable. So it would be cool to see him make a move. I would like to see him play out this year, but I think the Gold Cup will change some of that because I think he's one of the guys I'm looking at that could be a difference maker at the Gold Cup, and it could probably pull in a much bigger offer from an overseas club.
And I do want to say, like, again, this fee, the offer was low. Like, there was some, oh my God, Columbus are holding a player back, let him go. No. This isn't a charity. Just because it's good for a player's development to go to Europe, the crew don't have to sell him for, a third of what he's worth. So just give me a break on that.
In the game against Turkey, obviously Jack McGlynn scored in the first minute or second minute, whatever it technically was. The U.S. went up 1-0. Then Jonny had the turnover, which led to the goal. The second goal came 2 minutes later. It was like 31st and 33rd minute. All of this in the pouring rain in Connecticut. That put the U.S. down 2-1. They made a bunch of subs at halftime. Tyler Adams came on. Some other big pieces came on. They had a couple chances, a couple looks. Tyler created one really nice one. I think it was for an Aljamain header. The U.S. couldn't score. They end up losing 2-1. It is the third straight loss under Mauricio Pochettino. So he is the first U.S. manager to lose 3 straight games in 10 years, going back to Jurgen Klinsmann back in 2015. I think Jurgen Klinsmann got fired in 2015, if I have my years right. So that didn't end up well for him. I don't think Pochettino's in a similar place. Dangerous.
I don't think so either.
But it doesn't help. And it's not a great thing to lose games. Came out in sort of the 4-2-3-1. I think we've seen Jonny sort of struggle in central midfield with this group. There's something about whether it's partnerships or responsibilities on his shoulders that isn't comfortable for him. A lot of it was with Malik Tillman, who I like a lot as a player, but I'd like to see him higher up the field and have less defensive responsibility because I think some of this game you saw him be safe in possession because he felt like he should, and I don't know that that's where he's at his best.
I agree.
McGlynn on the wing was obviously dangerous in attack. I don't know how much it helped in defense, and you saw the second goal come from that wing and his ability to cover defensively and help a fullback and all of that. This isn't a perfect roster. There's holes in this team. It was not an easy day for them, but that's sort of the point of these matchups. It's like you're playing really good teams in Turkey and Switzerland.
I agree. And I don't think there's an obvious 11 for this group just because of, like you said, there's so many holes and there's so many, I started to say, I want this to be the summer of Diego Luna, Malik Tillman, and Jack McGlynn. And then even as I'm about to say it, I was like, well, how do you play all 3 of them? Where do you get width from? Because I want all of them in the same spot, but I want all of them to get minutes. But it doesn't make sense if there's no wingers. But this group doesn't really have any wingers. Like the Aronson brothers can do that, but it's not like there's obviously no Pulisic, no Weah, no Zendejas, which I'm extraordinarily surprised that there's no Zendejas, but whatever. This team kind of feels like you could play 2 forwards because there's a lot of good center forwards, but then what do you do? Play it back 3? There's just everything that I want to see. Then there's a counter of what about this? And then it solves one problem and then creates another, or it makes it a little bit awkward. So what I want to see, and I think if we're ranking this, I think Malik Tillman, I really want to see him get a run as like you said, higher up the field. And hey, man, you have to have the responsibility. This isn't going to be PSV where, again, I thought that he was much better with this year of popping up with important goal contributions rather than he came off the bench and had the assist on the 4th goal and scored the 5th, right? This year, he was absolutely integral to them winning the title. And I'm like, okay, I want to see him do that with the United States this summer. But I could say something similar about Luna. I could say something similar about Jack McGlynn. So I'm curious to see how this is going to go. I think when you get to the Gold Cup, when you're not playing Canada or Panama or Mexico, I think you play Jack McGlynn deeper and then put another attacker on. So because I don't think you have to worry about him having a huge defensive responsibility. And I think that's when you see some of those players and you go from there. But Patrick Aljamain, of course, but I don't think Brian White has gotten enough of a run. I hope that he starts against Switzerland, but that's just picking it too.
The Aljamain White thing is pretty obvious, which is the ceiling with Patrick Aljamain, if he hits and it's comfortable, is higher than what Brian White can give you. He has not hit that ceiling a ton with the national team. He scored in the junior camp. It's great. He doesn't seem to be getting service that's super comfortable for him. There is not a ton of crosses coming in because all of those wide players want to come inside and play in possession. I think Alex Freeman, it's going to be a big step up.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's going to be tough.
I apologize for not saying Alex Freeman.
No, but you're talking about a guy who's in his first year as a full first division professional. Now you're asking him to step up to the national team and do so behind someone who's not a natural wide player and who doesn't really defend that much and isn't really going to play you down the line as much. So all of that I think is pretty difficult. I wouldn't be shocked if Arfsten got pushed higher up the field. So you get Tolkien on the field and you get Arfsten in a more natural attacking position. He's played there for Columbus this year and been equally as dangerous. So, but I get your point, which is there are enough players up there that you want to see that you probably shouldn't have the minutes to waste there, I guess is the term you would use. But there's a lot of mixing and matching, as you said, with this team. And I don't know the exact formula for all of it. And there's not a ton of experience in all of it to sort of lean on and say, this is the base of it. I think Tyler Adams, they said, picked up a little bit of a knock. They're clearly managing him from club via the program that he has, which to me is the most important. Keeping Tyler Adams healthy is the biggest part of this. and I wouldn't want to see anything happen to him. He is like the one stable piece that you would say is a leader, and you build the whole thing around. He will be unavailable for the Switzerland game. The hope is he'll start to be available going into the Gold Cup. He obviously won't start every group stage game because that doesn't make any sense, clearly with where his body's at. And then there's a bunch of other question marks around this group. I mentioned it. Patrick Agyemang, growing up in Connecticut, like not part of a major academy, basically not recruited for college, went lower division, transferred
Shout out D3, baby.
Transferred to URI, which isn't even a powerhouse then at the D1 level. Go Rams, I think. And then he gets drafted, fights his way through MLS Next Pro into the first team, into the starting team, into the national team, and ends up getting to start in his hometown and blocks away from where he grew up. And as he said, he walked to games with his family to watch. I think he talked about the U.S. game. I think that game is like Landon's send-off game, which perfectly takes us into our next conversation. I don't know if you've heard. Landon Donovan, not stoked right now, had some comments about the national team. He's done it on his own show. Could not remember the name of it right now.
Unfiltered?
There you go. Thank you. I didn't know you were going to be so quick on it. Is it one that Gary Neville hosts?
No.
Is Gary Neville a host of this show?
No.
Okay. I just got to check because you never know. Gary's kind of all over the place. He has the show with Tim Howard where he's talked about this a couple times from what I've seen about the national team and sort of the desire to be a part of it from the players, and mentioned it as that first wave of sort of roster news came out 2 weeks ago, I think it was, where it was, Moose is not going to be coming, and Christian Pulisic then pulled himself out of the team, and a couple other players that are big parts of the national team announced that they would not be part of this camp. Some, like Josh Sargent, not called up, but a few others choosing not to be a part of it, taking a rest, having other issues going on in their life outside of the game, and going to be a part of that. And so Landon made comments about that originally, saying he was frustrated by that. He thought that they should be there. And then it came up again. I guess it came up during the Portugal-Spain game in the Nations League final, in which after Portugal won it and there was the emotion from Ronaldo and other Portugal players about winning it, Landon sort of made a comment saying like, this is what I wish the U.S. men's national team players would be like, that they would be fully committed and want this as well. Look how much these guys play. And then they still are there for their national team. There's like 500 things now being thrown around since then. We've got parents on ChatGPT throwing up social media posts, people investigating likes and reposts, former players coming out of the woodwork to post their own things, then likes and reposts on that, current players coming out and saying different stuff. I don't have a ton to say about the content from Landon, and I don't really want to rehash every single argument across all of this.
Yeah, look, if you're looking for that, there are 1,000 shows, and like again,
Gary Neville probably hosts half of them, so you could go over there.
And again, I'm not downplaying, like these are all, it is the right thing to talk about, but we were off, we missed this, and we don't need to just say the same thing other people did a week ago, but go on.
Yes, so what I would say, and my reaction to all of this, is similar to some people in which it comes up that Landon took a sabbatical and stepped away from professional soccer for his mental health, and then came back, and I think was welcomed back by fans and supporters and many in the soccer world, not Jurgen Klinsmann, many others, very, very quickly, at a time when this wasn't really a reality. It wasn't talked about. We weren't talking about the mental health of professional athletes and how to manage it at the right level. I think it was pretty brave of Landon to do what he did. Coming out of that then, he was punished somewhat by the national team for not being there and not being around. And when he finished his career and he retired, finally, actually, I know personally that I interviewed him going into, I believe it was a homegrown game in which he was going to be a coach or an assistant coach, I think with Stu Holden, and talking to him like, what do you want to do? And he had said, well, I don't know. I might want to coach. I might want to broadcast. I might want to be a part of the game some other way. But I really think that I have a unique perspective that I can bring. And when he talked about it in a broadcasting perspective, he said, I think that I can help players and I want to help guide players. And one of the ways I could do it is by bringing my perspective to broadcast so fans can understand the mental experience and what players are going through, to bring a little bit of why to what's going on in their lives and on the field. I thought that was a really great message. And I thought that was a special thing to want to do. it saddens me then that on the back end, we get cliche old man yells at clouds in this. If Landon wants to come on this show, I could not imagine he ever would want to. I'd be happy to talk about it with him. It feels very simple and easy to just yell about care more. Why don't they care more? Why does it matter? And it's unfortunate to come from the shift of, oh, I want to help explain to people that other things are happening in these players' lives. And in one of Landon's quotes, he said, maybe something's going on off the field, then tell us. That is not how that works. You do not create a better environment by saying, make sure to list all of your family emergencies and medical issues on a list so that I can read them and announce them. No, you trust the players that what they're going through is big enough that they have to take this moment. And there's a lot of other fights about travel and what's going on and how much people are committed and all of that. And I don't want to get into all of that. I think what makes it really sad for me is that this has taken this shift from him. And I would say, and I don't know how other USMNT fans feel, but I'm a fan, someone who defended the Landy Cakes nickname and his decision to leave Europe and come and play in Major League Soccer week in and week out and do things differently in his career and defended him for it because the performance was there and also because it's his life. It is, I think, sad that he is now going to be the voice of sort of the opposite side of that in this scenario.
I think that's really well said, Gus, and I think that's a different way to look at it than, again, this is a huge story. A lot of people have opinions, as they should, and every other angle I think has been hit. Whether it's, does he care, does he not, is it good for him, is he not, is it setting the right example, whatever, blah, 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 blah. I do think that's an interesting way to look at it of, I remember in that time, I wasn't nearly as established as Big David Goss when he was retiring. That was one of my, I interviewed Landon Donovan, I think I was still in college, and that was a holy shit moment for me. This was an idol growing up, right? And I do remember that too, of hey, what do you want to do? And it was the same thing. I don't know. I'm not sure, right? I might coach, I might not. So I think that's a really interesting angle to play from. And again, what I would add too is that I bet that that's at the center of what he's doing. He cares deeply about the national team. I'm sure he cares about Christian Pulisic, or maybe that's too much editorializing, but I will. The only pushback I'd offer here is I do think that this is him caring very deeply, and the other side of this too is guys being behind a mic, dude. You gotta have the opinions. You gotta sit on a podcast, and sometimes things get aggregated, and sometimes they don't. So I think that's all part of it too.
Probably, but also to bring it up on a Portugal broadcast means it's really at your top of mind and you're pushing it forward. I guess we will continue to see how this develops. I don't know how to even describe what any of this is. I look forward to the next screenshot of whatever social media post. Let's move on. For us, though, we're going to dig into a little bit of MLS that we've had. So there's a game on Thursday evening. In Major League Soccer, the classic Thursday night soccer, NYCFC against Atlanta. There's a game Friday night. I think the Timbers are playing on Friday night. And then we have the Club World Cup. So we're going to do some Club World Cup preview stuff on Thursday. I've got no idea what the Club World Cup is going to be. I'm not going to lie. I'm a bit of a sucker for a tournament. I'm stoked about Women's Euros this summer. I'm stoked about Women's Copa America this summer. I get sucked in. So there's a chance that with 4 soccer games on every single day and all this weird stuff,
you're going to be watching.
I'm going to be low-key into it.
1,000%.
I know. Dude. I'm probably going to be into it more than other people. So there's a decent chance you hear a chunk about it on soccer.
It's going to be 7:30 on Saturday. And if you're not at the game, because I know that all of the people ask, hey, permission, hey, we're in David Goss's city. Are we allowed to play? Are we allowed to come?
You got to check in.
You are going to be talking. You're going to disregard Lionel Messi Miami, and you're going to be so locked in on Al Ali on Saturday night. Dude. I bet everything on this.
I went to.
I'm going to get a text about Al Ali from you. 100%.
Now that we're going all the way back into the vault, I was at the premiere. Boom, big flex again, or maybe not premiere of the Bob Bradley documentary about him coaching Egypt.
There was a documentary.
There was it's an awesome documentary because he was coach of the national team when the Port Said violence happened, and then they shut the league down, and he coached the national team with no league going on. He is a huge part of why Mohamed Salah got to Europe, because he had to get out and find a place to play. My GOAT is Mohamed Abu Treka in all of that. He is one of my favorite 5 soccer players of all time. He is an Al Ali legend. And when it got announced, and you're around people, and they're oh my God, so crazy, Bayern's coming to Miami, and I'm get that out of my face. Give me Al Ali on a Saturday night in the rain.
I'm counting this as a win for me already.
Yeah, so no, you better believe I'm hyped about it. I'm hyped to see the MLS team. Seattle are not coming in on the greatest of form. We'll talk about that in just a moment. And obviously, LAFC have earned their way in, which is going to be fun to watch. And I don't know what Inter Miami is going to be. But, like, yeah, you're right. Fluminense Dortmund playing on Tuesday at noon on June 17th. This guy's locked in. This guy's going to be there for that one. Let's recap a little bit of the weekend. It was a short weekend because of the international break. Austin knocked off Colorado 2-0 in their game. A good win for an Austin group that is trying to find their feet and like figure out who they are. For Colorado, which had a pretty full team, including Georgi Mihailovic, where there's a convo right now in the chat about whether or not he got shafted out of an opportunity to play for the national team. I think it's a fair convo. In all of that, though, I think you broke some news around the Colorado Rapids this week.
Yeah, Colorado Rapids getting their summer started. They're finalizing a deal to sign Israel international center back Stav Lemkin from Shakhtar Donetsk. Lemkin was on loan in Israel this season. The fee is $1.6 million. It's all agreed from what I've been told, so it just needs to be finalized. And this is a promising, talented center back. A couple of interesting notes on this is that he's eligible for the U22 initiative, and the Rapids could put him there. They are deciding what makes the most sense based on what deals do or don't get done or what their plans are between now and the window opening, because he could be a U22 initiative player, or they could manage him into the cap depending on other things that they're doing this summer and then sign another U22. Or if it makes more sense to put him as U22, they could still sign somebody else with whatever salary they were going to put to him. All that being said, that's all still being determined. Yeah. And my larger point, I think, is what I'm trying to make, is that's not the only thing that Colorado might be doing this summer, but this is really good on them to get this done early.
They have been really creative with center backs, right? They've used DP center backs, they've traded, they've used U22s. Like, they've been one of the teams that I think has circled that position as one where they can be a differentiator against other clubs. And
they've signed 17-year-old Australian youth international Lucas Harrington. He's he's going to join in January after he turns 18. We might have a Riley McGree situation here where like they might get bids for a player before he gets here. And again, shout out to Colorado Rapids for having the foresight to like not just spot the player, but like, and almost like Chicago with John Duran, like, yo, we need to get this done right now, because if we don't, he's gone. Like, we're not going to be able to sign him. And he's with the Australian U20s. And from what I've been told, and like, I'm not gonna lie to you, not watching that tournament right now.
Damn, dude! I thought you said you were the one of the two that said you'd cover the U20s Aussie games.
What I've been told is that he's killing it there, and that like other club, like when Colorado signed him, he did have offers from Europe. There were a lot of teams that kind of wanted him, and what is really cool is that between Colorado, like what they laid in front of him in terms of development and platform, and the kid himself and his camp of like, it's going to be better for you to go to Colorado and play first division, first team games than say, a big, the U21 team of a Premier League side, or, insert whatever, right? Like, so I think that is unique. And I do hope that this works out well, and that we see more of that in the future, where players are like, all right, man, like I could go to the 10th place team in Italy and play for their, second team, or I could go to the Colorado Rapids or the Philadelphia Union or FC Dallas or blah, 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 blah.
Okay. This is the dreams that Tom has on his free time. Thinking about...
I'm a sick man.
Yeah. I was with you 70% of the way, and then I was like, okay, cool.
I saw you bail on that. That's why I ended with blah, blah, blah.
If you had used the phrase primavera, then I would have been back, because I think that's the term they use for those teams. But you lost me on that one. For Colorado, I think continuing to try to increase that position. Maybe we see 3 center backs from them. I wouldn't be shocked. Teddy Kudibietro's back now, so they're getting a little more like attacking play from the width, but it is not a huge part of their game. And maybe if they go 5 in the back, you can sort of push wing backs higher up the field. It can help you press a little bit in there and keep all of your attacking players centrally where you want them. It's an idea for them, and it's an option. You talked about Australia. Now, I don't know about Australia, but I believe Uzbekistan has qualified for the World Cup. Get on your DNA test and see if Tommy Starlow has any DNA connected. Because this guy, the star is shining. The World Cup watch is on. Tom Starlow needs to be at the 2026 World Cup. If it's not going to be for the U.S., and it should be, March should have started on June 7th or whatever Saturday was, any other country that thinks they can get a shot at this guy. I don't know if it's France. I don't know if it's England. I don't know if it's Brazil. I don't know where his family's from. I've never even talked to them. They lived in Wisconsin, I think. So who knows what that means. Wisconsin. Yeah, you never know what anything could be happening. Maybe it's German, whatever it is. Get your research teams out because Tommy Starlow is ready to rock. He's ready to roll. A 7-1 win for the Chicago Fire against DC United. This has happened to DC a couple times over the last few years, and it's tough.
The last few months. My understanding is the last 2 times that Troy Lezane and DC United have played a back 4 instead of 3 center backs was this game, 7-1.
Stop.
And San Jose, 6-1.
Yikes.
I think you have the data. No more. No must. That's it. No more 3 at the back.
It would probably have helped the 7 goals against. Not sure it's enough for a win. Like, there's not much in the attack right now.
I think you have enough data to suggest.
Yeah. No, you're probably right that 13 goals against across 2 games is probably not a number
that's tough, man.
that you want to stick with.
Luis
Peraza, we are all praying for you.
Gavin Turner made his debut. It's Gavin, right? Their highly rated academy talent.
Yeah. Good player.
Made his debut. And this reminds me, it's funny because they lost to Chicago. It's Christian Cups made his debut when Chicago were down 7-0 to Nashville. So they all count the same. So congratulations to Turner.
They do all count the same. Bamba gets a goal. Hasn't scored as much as maybe we would have expected coming into the league. I think he's found his feet pretty well. He's
really one good, man.
Yeah, he's one of the second half of the season guys, especially if there is a DP10 that happens. Zinkernagel played in there in this game. It was fine against DC. I don't know if it's fine against every team. That's not like a knock on him. I just don't know that he can control the game enough to be your 10. And Gutierrez doesn't get the start. Comes off the bench and scores. It has not been the year I thought it would be for Brian Gutierrez. And there's transfer stuff out there. Maybe that's hard for a young player. It's a new coach. Maybe that's hard. Obviously, the elbow against NYCFC, fairly unacceptable. And so there's just a lot of back and forth for someone who, for a bad team as a young player, was extremely consistent. And now, as he's playing for a better team, has sort of struggled to find himself again. And so fingers crossed that this Chicago team can sort of help him. Or they find the next spot for him if that's what it has to be to figure it out. Other big results from the weekend. The Vancouver Whitecaps working through some level of sickness coming out of the CCC final. Clearly sickness more than just the performance and having to watch it back or maybe not watch it back. They were able to put together a fairly strong starting lineup, not a ton of depth. They had a local homegrown score a goal, and they ended up blowing out the Seattle Sounders in, I think, the Seattle Sounders' last game pre-Club World Cup as their quote-unquote warm-up. All of that is a little bit skewed behind the big news around this Seattle group, which we haven't been on the show to talk about since. They wore shirts the previous match, sort of protesting the lack of a agreed-upon deal between them through the MLSPA and Major League Soccer and the owners to figure out how to handle what is a huge windfall of bonus money that's coming up from the Club World Cup.
Yeah, so let's go back to, the players have wanted a different deal for the bonuses that come with the Club World Cup. The CBA, that was ratified in 2021, capped bonuses for cup competitions like this at $1 million. And MLS acknowledges this as well. This was way before we knew this expanded Club World Cup and particularly the money that was going to be on the table for clubs that qualified. And MLS has said that they understand this too and they want to work. These two sides are not close. It has gotten very contentious. So the Seattle Sounders wore those shirts that read Club World Cash Grab in the warm-ups to their game, not this weekend, but the weekend prior. And as I reported, as has Jeremy Oshan of Sound Red Heart, that Adrian Hanauer, the Seattle Sounders owner, was very angry. And after the game, immediately went into the locker room and just ripped the players. Angrily confronted them about the protest. So from my reporting on these talks, the top line here is they are not close, the MLSPA and MLS. And it has gone contentious. And honestly, it's gotten a little bit worse than it was a couple weeks ago. So MLS were going to make an offer the Monday following that game. And then that offer didn't come on that Monday because the owners, obviously led by Adrian Hanauer, as I reported, owners were not thrilled by that. And the discussions had to be, does this look like we're giving into a protest, whatever. An offer eventually comes on Friday for 20% of performance-based incentives. Right now, the players are getting $1 million per team of the bonus of that $9.5 million that each team is getting. On top of that $1 million, all clubs were able to take some money that they're getting, $750,000, and convert that into GAM, which then goes into the roster, the salary cap. Like, that doesn't count exactly as bonuses to players, but the way the league views that as all three teams, sources have told me, have done that. So that's $1.75 million, the league stance, is going to the players of that $9.5 million. If they don't have a new agreement, that is where the players' part ends, because they're capped by this CBA, this archaic rule. Again, that the league has said, like, look, yeah, like, let's talk. So the offer is 20% of future performance-based add-ons. The players want 40%. They initially asked for 35%. But what I was told is that the MLSPA, that MLS, and like they put this in a statement, and I'm trying to get the words out because I don't want to get it wrong. The MLSPA in a statement called the league's proposal, quote, retaliatory, unquote, and, quote, ignored months of attempts by players to engage. So the players said, cool, if you're going to try to lean on us because that the players went public and make the deal worse, guess what? Our offer got worse too. We want 40%. So that's how things are going right now. It is the question that I keep getting asked that might be at the top of your mind of what happens if there's no agreement by the time Miami kicks off in 4 days from right now. I honestly don't know. We'll see. Like, things don't look great right now. Maybe it gets done. Maybe that there's some common ground that everybody can find some over the next few days. But man, we're 4 days away from this tournament. There's nothing been agreed, and that was the impetus for the players going public because of their frustrations of why do we not have this set right now? The tournament is happening very soon.
Yeah, you always say on this show that deadlines cause people to make decisions, like when we talk about transfers. We've known about the Club World Cup for a year plus now. We've known that at least two of the MLS teams that were in it. The third MLS team doesn't change the reality of the payout for each of the MLS teams. Yeah, why are we working on this deal now? Why was this not agreed months ago, a year ago, whatever it was? I can understand some part of it of like the MLSPA agreed to a deal. They locked themselves into a number, but you just have this like world-changing situation that occurred that no one could anticipate. There is no precedent to the payout that is coming from the Club World Cup for teams in a competition. So I think it's fair for everyone in the room to be adults, acknowledge that, and say, okay, how can we work together going forward to grow things? I'm going to pull back to the word that I used for the Landon Donovan thing. This is sad. Like, this should be a celebration of the fact, especially for Seattle, where Seattle has, I think, pushed the envelope in Major League Soccer. And I think the reason they were the first team to win CCC and go to a Club World Cup and are now in line to do it again is because of the expectations they set internally that were higher than other MLS teams, that we are going to compete with anyone, that we do believe we belong on the field, that we're going to try and challenge to have an international at every starting position, and we're going to grow the depth of this club, and we're going to push ourselves. And it hasn't always been the highest amount of money on the top end, but I think it's operated in ways very professional, very aggressive that other clubs haven't. So to this now be the convo 6 days, 7 days out from them making their debut in this tournament of like, yeah, we've all laughed about it. Jordan Morris came into media marketing and was like, I don't know what PSG is going to be. Like, yeah, we don't know exactly what it's going to be on the field, but I thought this time period would have been a really cool celebration for this club to say, look where we are, look where we stand, look what we've done. And so for this now to be what you're talking about first coming into this, and then you get the chaos on the field against Vancouver, like, I just think it's all really unfortunate, and it's not the way that you'd want to go into all of this.
I agree.
And I don't know what Diego Simeone is seeing on tape, but this is going to be a vibe over the next few weeks.
Yeah, I again, I think on Thursday's show we're gonna dig into some more stuff on the field. Maybe there's gonna be more stuff off the field, but yeah, I'm again, it's unfortunate for all parties. You know, I stand by the players. Like, go ahead, like, get your money. If you think something, if you feel what's right, protest. Hell yeah, that's all of our rights, right? So good on them for having the bravery to do it, and coordination and support and everything else. But again, I do hope that there could be a resolution here. And so, like, again, what like you were joking about the Club World Cup before, that you you're starting, like, yeah, I'll probably get locked in. Like, yeah, I promise you I'm going to be watching when Seattle plays PSG. Like, right? Yeah. Like this is going to be a fun thing. There are a lot of debates and arguments and opinions about the tournament as a whole, and the workload for players, and what is the impetus behind it? Is it really growing the game everywhere, or is it really about getting checks? all of that aside, once the balls start rolling, we'll probably be watching. And I'm always somebody who I want to talk about stuff on the field or like things pertaining to on the field, which would be transfers directly. Right? Like
I only want to talk about stuff on the field.
You were about to kill me, but that relates to on the field.
Listen, dude, start the rumor. Goss 34. Where is he going?
There he goes. He got it.
Where's he going?
But no, like I'm too stupid to do anything other than talk about soccer and things relating to on the field. So I'm out of my depth when I'm talking about some of these like labor negotiations
right? and negotiations and all that.
Right. And again, like the business side of this stuff, like, you know, I'm more comfortable talking about Matt Turner going to Lyon. And I'm more comfortable talking about Obed Vargas playing against PSG. And that's what I want to do. But this is more important.
We had a really fun show. Thank you to everyone who joined us live. Thank you, as usual, to you, Tom. Be back tomorrow with Jordan Angeli to cover a ton of crazy NWSL games. I think it was 5 games with goals in the final 10 minutes or stoppage time to change the results. We will then recap some USMNT stuff going into the Gold Cup. And, of course, we will have that Club World Cup preview coming for you on Thursday. So thank you to all of you. Didn't have the live shows last week. I'm glad we could be back. I'm glad everyone could be back in the chat. Appreciate all of it, and shout out Diego Luna.